have it on my car. The ones that get sold in Israel, none of them have the ability to have the full self-driving.
Yeah, but you're right. It's probably safer the self-driving than the Israelis driving, you know?
You can't use it.
I can use it. No, in Israeli cars, it's not installed. You can't enable it. You can't purchase it. Nothing. In my car, it is.
But is it legal for you to use it?
Oh, wow.
No answer.
I thought it was like a weapon. I think the question of legal. I think once it's on, it should be you should be able to use it. The problem is that they don't put it on.
No, it's illegal.
It's legal.
That's full self-driving.
Now they're going to enforce it.
How should we Haber?
Can you imagine how much safer it would be if every Israeli car was self-driving instead of an Israeli driver?
Oh, can you only imagine? Is it safe to drive? Is it safe to drive?
There's like this video sometimes.
No,
It's all fake. It's all other companies trying to not cut it down.
yeah, stop the sale.
One of the most technologically advanced things.
Ryan, do you have matches? Or we just have the candles on the table?
Matches 15 years behind.
What?
I
heard that. For the grill.
Look at quality.
For the grill.
They're
actually don't see. I mean,
same thing. Every single new car of theirs, they usually the first batch has quality because they're using it's all automated. It's all machines. So they have it.
It's built by Rabbah.
So the difference is that they're actually doing innovative things to kind of get over. For instance, what they do now.
You got to think
They're the only factories in the world now where they have one single part for the entire body of the car. Single part. Instead of putting together all these parts, they have a single part and then only all this kind of stuff. They only do it because they build their own factory from scratch. It's like a 3D mold, basically.
Don't be one of those guys. You miss show for like a month. You can come over here.
The technology that's really good. Where the side doors run underneath they fold down underneath the car. You get the whole side. No, not the video. Actually go underneath. Have you seen that?
Once upon a time.
Today they took a
I'm fine, I'm fine. How are you? Rabbah.
Cool. Jumped it.
Great.
Cool.
How's your partner?
My sister's whole family tested positive. He's gonna spend Yontif with them.
Positive.
It's positive for all that. The 3 vaccines, serology test last week.
3 vaccines? He had more than 3.
I went to 3.
Whatever he feels like he takes.
The 2 Pfizer's and
That's what he told me last time. That's what he did. He went upstairs and got himself another shot.
Up the shot, it didn't help.
It wore off. The guy that should was
Yeah, he got it.
He gave it to himself before she was
Maybe not that it wore off. Maybe he's having like symptoms.
Yeah, no, that's what he's saying. If he would have had it, he probably would have been, if it were, it could have been much worse. He doesn't have fever, but he has like the flu-like symptoms, fatigue and aches.
The point is with the vaccine, I think it doesn't get into your cells.
Yeah.
That's what I understand. Like you still get it. I don't think anybody ever said with the vaccine you don't get the virus. That's good. Just like the cold.
So now my mother's nervous because if she has to fly out and she has to get a test, maybe she'll test positive.
When they schedule the flight?
A week or Sunday, but I think they push it off a day.
Actually, this was
A day because it's like 11 days from your test. I don't know, it's like unclear.
You know what she can do though? She can do one of the rapid tests to see. And then,
No, you don't need a PCR test to fly into an airport. You don't need it, you just need antigen.
what do you need?
It's like rapid tests as well. Like, I mean, this would be like done by Motto, but it doesn't
One
need
of
to be
those.
PCR test.
Some of this.
only coming
Very
back.
complicated. They don't make it easy. In America, no one cares. No one knows. Like, no one cares in America.
Learn to live with it. Live alongside it.
And if people see you,
I think this year the push to politicize everything affected it also.
my sister's very unnecessarily you can find that in absence of a test, there's an absence of hope. You can't get
Oh, I have to.
You staying for a while? Just for your watch. I don't have a watch. Otherwise, I talk till 2 in the morning, and they're like,
Mine too.
The funny thing, my watch broke 2 weeks ago.
Oops.
Was that a?
Yeah, I was looking at my watch, 7:15, no matter what. His watch is still 7:15.
Like that?
Go buy the Rabbi new watch.
No, it's fixable, but I didn't get a chance to fix it. Just a bit like the back. Anyways. No, but I was thinking the first day, like, without a watch, I'm every minute looking at it. And, but the second day, like, I was like out of panic. Now I don't even want to fix it.
Oh, can I touch? Wish the Rabbi, Modim Simcha. It's a special day.
Oh! How old are you? Seriously?
Yeah. So she got a good spot here.
I may have asked him. We should make a l'chaim.
Yeah.
Cover the birthday.
Gil, do you have any 70-year-old scotch?
Rav Yaacov
Squeeze up a little bit.
You make a l'chaim. Make a l'chaim. It's wine. Wine.
There, my father has a bottle of booze that was made during the Prohibition. That was his. That was the Mechiras Chametz. One Mechiras Chametz every year.
Then you got the whole thing about
His father had gotten during the Prohibition.
My father was in the Marines, and somewhere along the line in World War II, he picked up a bottle of wine, which was at that time 30, 40 years old. So he decided he's going to age it. And he's holding it for 40 years or 50 years. And then I came home from it. He's got it there, and I came home from yeshiva. I said, "Treif." So he said, "Look at that. I've watched this for 40, 50 years." So he said, "All right, I'll sell it." So I said, "No, it's Asher Bahana." He said, "I'll give it to a guy." He says, "No, I don't know." So I'll never forget. Oh, my father, the Pashani is, he opened up the bottle and he went to the sink.
Can I make a l'chaim?
L'chaim.
I'm Tovian. This is my first year spending Sukkahs with the Rav and the Shul. Mitzvah Shem should be another 120 years together.
Birthday. It's his birthday today.
Simple. Leishe with Sukka.
Mine's next third of
The best whiskey ever. And I realized that he's very hospital of Pesach. So I wasn't drinking at salt.
Yes, that's the trick.
I wasn't drinking at salt. Not the things that he had salt. I was an idiot to get rid of all the whiskey.
You have to give us all brachos now.
You just did?
Stand up in line.
If I can, one by one.
You know what I always say during that? The Gemara says if you see a Talmud Chacham doesn't have it during the day, at night, don't worry because he definitely did tshuva. So the belt says he definitely, don't worry about the Talmud Chacham, he definitely wrote a tshuva about it. I think that's a tshuva. Torah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagofen Torah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu leishev v'sukka.
I didn't embarrass today, so that's what I do. I didn't want to embarrass today, I know.
Tonight.
Is there a fun?
For sure, if Chaim's here, there's an opener.
In his pocket. He carries one in his pocket all the time.
Boy Scout.
I need a bag.
You need like a little chain.
Samavarto v'chagecho v'yayisa azameya v'samarto v'chagecho v'yayisa azameya v'chagecho v'yayisa azameya Okay, this is our 12th annual. I was just telling Rabbi Ram that before I moved here, but I was already Rabbi Shul, so I invited the other ones, the smaller one, invited to my house in Bayit Vegan. You came? You were there? Simon Sinet. Anybody else? Aram, you were there? No, you would remember.
Danny was there, yes.
Annie, yeah. I'm Rehov Tilton. You just know my address. You saw a bill. Who's that? Really?
How long was the Rav there?
In Beit Vagan? How long in Beit Vagan? 4 years? We're in Eretz Yisrael 18 years. This is the 12th Ikar. So it must have been 6 years. My math. Okay.
7 miles, more than 7 miles.
Okay, so we learned the Yud Gimmel Ikrim. We learn one of the Ikrim every year. See what happens. And every year, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to go with this, but Baruch Hashem, there's always something important to say. But I want to say the same thing I say every year first, Hakdama, which is why this is so important. Yud Gimmel Ikrim is the Rambam located 13 things that he said these are the major points, the major dogma of Yiddishkeit. Like these are the 13 things. So he didn't pick the 10 Commandments. He didn't pick what would be what I would have picked. I would have picked like more obvious mitzvahs, like keep Shabbos or something like that. But he picked out these 13 Yud Gimmel Ikrim. And he listed them, and we know them because we say the Animamins, and those are the 13. Animamin was written by the Rambam. Animamin was written by a poet after the Rambam, based on the Rambam, but it's a very accurate. The Gedolim said that's a very accurate description of the Yud Gimmel Ikrim. So, of course, look who's here. Wow. Is it chairs? Chairs? Anyway, so the Rishonim at the time, they all attacked the Rambam, why are you saying Yud Gimmel Ikrim? How can you say one thing's Ikr and something else is Tafel? Truth is, it's a Shvach Akasha, because he didn't say they were Ikrim, he said Yud Gimmel Yisodos. But still, how could you say one thing is Yisodos? But that's what they asked. Other people called them Ikrim. He was careful to call them Yisodos. Like the Sefer Ikrim, Rabbi Yaacov Haber, he called them Ikrim. But everybody asked, what's the pshat? And 13, there's Taryag Mitzvahs, there's 613 Ikr things. Asaras HaDibros, why these 13 things? So, many years ago, I said pshat, I heard afterwards that the Brisker Rav said something like this, so probably if that's true, then it's honest. That the pshat is that everything in halacha, everything in Yiddishkeit, everything in Shas, is a machlekes. You don't find nothing gets away without a machlekes. Every Amud Gemara is a machlekes. So what does that mean? What's the importance of everything being a machlekes? Right? Is this muksa? Is it not muksa? Machlekes? Is it everything's a machlekes? Is this chil Shabbos? Is it not chil Shabbos? So need some chairs here. So what's the relevance of everything being? Any more chairs? What's the relevance of everything being a machlekes? The relevance is that sof kol sof, even though we have to keep all the halachas, obviously, you have to keep all the mitzvahs. Nobody's questioning they have to keep every single thing. Ad kutzei shel yud, but nevertheless, if somebody doesn't keep something, he says, I hold like a baya. What do you want? I hold like a baya, I don't hold like Rava. So even though that's not the halacha, we have a Yal Kagan, tells us what the halacha is, but you can't, and you're calling a baya a koifer. So you can't call him a koifer. You could say you're not following the halachic system, but that's not a koifer. So anything that there's a machlekes and you take one side of the halacha, and you have a makar in Shas, you have a makar in a Tana, in an Amira, so a Rishon, so you have a makar. So once you have a makar for that halacha, so you can't be a koifer. So the Rambam located 13 items that there's no machlekes about. Meaning, there's only one God. That's it. That's nothing to talk about. Right? There's only one Hashem. And the 13 Ikrim are the Rambam's brilliant review of the Kol HaTorah Kula, and saying, here I'm going to list down for you 13 things which have no machlekes. Why is it important to have 13 things that are no machlekes? The answer is simple, because if there's no machlekes and you disagree with this, then you're a koifer be'ikar. So, meaning like the pshat in the Ikrim is that this is Ikar of Yiddishkeit. You can't compare it to something else in Yiddishkeit. You can't say like, do you believe in God? Well, there's a machlokes. You know, I believe in God or not. Do you believe in 2 gods, 3 gods, maybe? So no, there's machlokes. No machlokes. There's 13 things that there's no machlokes about. So nafkamina is that you're not a kofer beikar, but the other nafkamina is on a deeper level, even than if you're trying to check whether you're a kofer or you're not a kofer. That I think what the Rambam meant to say, Libi Amarli, what the Rambam was saying, is that these 13 items, the Yud Gimmel Ikrim, that there's no machlokes about, those 13 things, that makes up like the Ikar of Yiddishkeit. That's Yiddishkeit. So, like anybody's allowed to believe whatever they want in this world. It's a free world. You can believe whatever you want. But, like, let's say Christianity comes along and says, like, we believe in God is like there's one God, but it's in triplicate, and it's like there's no yichud, Hashem. So, but this is another branch of Yiddishkeit. That's what the Christians are saying now in Eretz Yisrael. We should be part of the Misrata Datot, because we're also part of it. It's just a different expression. You have an Orthodox conservative reform, but let's talk about conservative reform. So you say Reform Jews, like we're Jews, we're traditional Jews. We just don't believe in that you have to keep all the mitzvahs. Okay, bingo, you're out. Like all of a sudden, you're not believing in. Not just you're not believing one of the Yud Gimmel Ikrim. The very definition of Yiddishkeit is these 13 Ikrim. How do I know? Because there's no machlokes about it. So if there's no machlokes about it, that is Yiddishkeit. So if that's Yiddishkeit and somebody doesn't believe it, so go ahead and start your own religion. You're welcome. But you can't call it Yiddishkeit. So Islam comes and makes, okay, we believe in everything. They don't believe in everything. They do a lot of things. But we think there's another prophet after Moshe Rabbeinu, and he said more things. He said more. He said bigger things. He said other things. He said this we have to do, this we don't have to do. So very good. It's not Yiddishkeit. It's as simple as that. It's just not Yiddishkeit. So that's the pshat, I think, of the Yud Gimmel Ikrim.
But just because something it doesn't have, there's no machlokes about something, doesn't make it an ikar. No, everyone agrees that you don't need chazir.
Rav Weinberg said that's why I call it Yisodos.
Yisodos.
Rav Weinberg said that he said that's Yisodos. It's a foundation of Judaism.
So foundational. So what does foundational mean? That it's Yiddishkeit is standing on these 13 things. The fact that there's no machlokes about it is just a siman that this was something that was accepted throughout the generations. That's what it means. That there is. It just shows you that nobody ever argued about this. With the whole Talmud Bavli and Yerushalmi, nobody argued about these things. So here you have the 13 things that are clear, fundamental, foundational aspects of Yiddishkeit. You can't do anything about it. You don't want to believe it. Don't believe it. Nobody's forcing anybody to believe. That's between you and God if you believe in God. But it's not a yisoid. It's not an ikar. So this is the problem. In other words, like you can't have like let's say Reform Judaism or Reconstructionist Judaism. We believe in this. We believe in that. This we don't believe. You could do that, but it's not Yiddishkeit. You can't call it Yiddishkeit anymore. You have to open up a new take in the Misrata Datot. So we have a new religion. New religion. It doesn't belong with Yiddishkeit. Okay, so that's my hakdama.
Why is it called Ikarim as opposed to Yisodot?
It is called Yisodos.
Same thing?
No, so the reason is because once it was identified, here's my theory. Once it was identified that these are the 13, so now the other Rishonim came and argued, so what do you mean? We find machlokes about these too. So for instance, the whole Sefer HaIkrim, and he called it Sefer HaIkrim, so that's why we call it an Ikar. Sefer HaIkrim, Rabbi Yosef Alba. So he came down and he said there's only 3 Ikrim. Only 3 things that there's no machlokes about. And he identified 3. Others identified 11. So, but they're not Ikar as, that's what your question is, what does that, not Ikar that implies a tuffle.
Uh-huh.
It's an Ikar meaning like, these are the main ways to understand the main amudim, main pillars of Yiddishkeit. Yud Gimmel Ikrim.
But those Rav doesn't think the word Yisodos would be just as strong?
The Rambam said Yisodos. The Rambam said Yisodos. But since everybody calls it Yud Gimmel Ikrim, I call it Yud Gimmel. But in vernacular, it's Yud Gimmel Ikrim. But you're right, the Rambam called it Yisodos. Didn't take, for some reason. The Ani Mamins took. What are they called? 13 Ani Mamins. Right?
Weinberg said Kafir of Birker sounds better than Kafir of Yisod.
That's what he said.
It's It's more traditional.
No, because Kofar Bikr is a lashon of the Gemara.
As I said, it's more
Kofar Bikr.
Talmudic.
Yeah. Okay, so the 12th Ikar, which is what we're up to, is Melech HaMashiach, which we feel like we know a lot about. I personally don't think we know too much about it. In fact, the Rambam makes the point that we don't know what's going to be. Nobody knows ma yeh ad sheyeh. Nobody knows what's going to be, so we really don't know a lot about it. And the Rambam says a tremendous part. I made this diuk on Tisha B'Av and I shared it. That the Rambam says that, why do we know about everything and we don't know about? I mean, he talks all about it. His Hilchos Malachos about Mashiach, but then he says that. But what's going to happen? Whether dollar bills are going to be growing on the trees or it's going to be shekels, or what's going to happen, or where people how everyone's going to get to Eretz Yisrael, how this land is going to hold millions of people, Be'ezus Hashem, millions of people more than it holds now. All these things he says, Ein Adam Yodea Ma Yeh Ad Sheyeh. You shouldn't even think about it too much because nobody knows what's going to be. But then he adds this point, Mipnei she'ein lanu Mesorah al zeh. The Rambam says, because we don't have a Messiah, which is such a fantastic thing that the Rambam's saying, meaning like Yiddishkeit is based in Masorah. If you can't just read the Chumash and know Yiddishkeit, you can't even read Shas and know Yiddishkeit. We have a Masorah of how Yiddishkeit works. So since he says Vald, Ein lanu Mesorah al zeh, so don't make it up. Like you can. And he even goes so far as to say, and don't try to be medayik from Psukim or from Nevi'im, or anything like that, because all those things many of them are just mashal or malitza. It's not necessarily really the way it is. Maybe there's not going to be like lions and sheep living together. We don't know. It could be it's just a mashal. It could be it's talking about Iranians and Persians and Syrians or something. We don't know what it's talking about. So Ein Adam Yodea Ma Yeh Sheyeh, Ein Lanu Mesorah al zeh. So the Rambam was the Baal HaMesorah. The whole Rambam, he writes in the Hakdama, the whole Rambam is to tell us what our Mesorah is in Yiddishkeit. That was the big chiddush of the Rambam, that we have a Mesorah in Yiddishkeit, and you can't just go with it any way you want. So so people, there are those that argue with the Rambam. That's not the Mesorah. This is the Mesorah. You could argue with the Rambam if you're a Rishon, but it's probably silly to argue with the Rambam for the most part because the Rambam knew. But he not just he learned the sugya well, he knew what the Mesorah was. And there's a Mesorah on Mashiach that we know, and there's what we don't know. So we're going to learn about what we know, not about what we don't know. So what I have here mostly on the sheet is the Rambam inside. Just like we learn B'fnim in the Rambam, and we'll be medayik what we're medayik. So the Rambam is in a couple of places. The Yud Gimmel Yisodos that the Rambam brings is in the Hakdama Pirush HaMishnayos to Perek Chelek in Masechtas Sanhedrin. That's where the Rambam brings this. And the Ani Mamins, as I say, is just a shortened, abridged version of the poetry of it. But this is what he says. Learn together. Does everyone have a sheet? I have a couple more sheets here. It says, Yemos HaMashiach, period. Yemos HaMashiach. V'hu lahamin ula ames. That one has to believe, and believing could be your imagination. La'ames, to make it a fact in your life, a fact in your mind. Sheyavoi v'layachshav sheyisacher. We have to believe and we have to know that the Mashiach is going to come. What? Sheyavoi v'layachshav sheyisacher. And don't think that it's going to be delayed. Even it is delayed. Im yismameya, and this is a pasuk in Chavakuk. Im yismameya chakeloi. If Mashiach is not here, chakeloi. We need to understand what does he want. What does he mean, Mashiach? But let's just learn the Rambam. V'lo yasim loizman, and don't give him a deadline. V'lo yasa loy svaros mimikrois, as I just said. Don't come up with all kinds of svaros from the psukim. Lo haitzi zman biyasei. To figure out when he's going to come, which, by the way, everybody does. See, all the time, he's going to come, Mashiach's coming, is this, and that, is a simon. All kinds of simonim. The Rambam says you're not allowed to do that. Right? Lo yasa lo svaros b'mikrois. Don't learn psukim, because that's the thing with the psukim in Tanakh, that we only know what we know because of the Messiah. V'chachamim oimrim, and the Chachamim say in Sanhedrin, tipach ruchan shamachash ve'kitzin. Tipach Ruchan, I'm not sure, it's some type of a curse. How do you understand Tipach Ruchan? And explode? You think? Explode?
The mind is exploding.
Yeah.
Just Tipach Hatzmeisav, no, that's how much. 20 in the American.
Tipach Ruchan. You're right.
What's the word Tipach mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Could mean so you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go crazy thinking about when Mashiach's gonna come. V'shiyamin, and you shall believe sheyeloi yisarein umayla v'kavod al kol hamlachim shehayu me'olam. He's going to be bigger and he's going to be better and more kavod than any king that ever existed. So that means the kings of Israel, pharaohs, Nebuchadnezzar. Pick your king. Kefi mashanivu alav kol hanavim mimoshe Rabbeinu, and this was all prophesied. The Vias HaMashiach was all prophesied from all the Nevi'im. And in fact, if you look, there isn't a Navi of all the Nevi'im that didn't speak about Mashiach. In fact, their main subject was two things: Mashiach and Tshuva and Chorban. Chorban, therefore do Tshuva, and you have to wait for the Geula. Everyone. From Moshe Rabbeinu ad Malachi. Malachi was there at the time of Ezra. All of Shalom, Aleim HaShalom. Umishi Stapik Boy, and anybody who has a question about this, Oy Nismayit Etzlai Malosai, or he minimizes Mashiach, Kafar B'Torah. So that's very strong. Shiyad Bo B'Torah B'Ferish, because we find it Mamish in the Chumash, B'Parshas Bilam, B'Parshas Hatam Nitzavim. I'm not going to go into what the rise from the Chumash is. It's not so mafurish in the Chumash, but the Rambam says it's mafurish. Why? How does he know it's mafurish? Because Chazal say it's mafurish. Umechlal yisoid zeh, and part of this thing is she'ein melech Yisrael elo mibeis David. Not just anybody can get up and be Mashiach. He has to be mibeis David. Umizera shloimai, mibeis David, mizera David shloimai. Bilvad. So David, and then David's son Shlomo, and from there has to come the Malach HaMashiach. V'chol ha'choylek ala mishpacha azois, and if you argue with the fact that it's David HaMelech's mishpacha, kofar b'shem Hashem Yisparach. Ubedivrei Neviah, very strong. So you're a kofer. So there's a lot of chidushim here, but the biggest chidush is Rabbi Leventhal's next campaign is for a bigger. The biggest chiddush here is that for an Ikar, let's call it an Ikar for now. For an Ikar, there's a lot of details here. Meaning, okay, I believe in Mashiach. I believe in Mashiach. Who doesn't believe in Mashiach? Everybody believes in Mashiach. Ani Mamin, we sing the song, everything. But that I have to believe that he's from the Mishpachas David, and if not, I'm not just kofer in like some detail. Okay, I got that detail wrong, but basically I kept the Ikar. No. If that's all part of the Ikar. Part of the Ikar is that he's Mishpachas David. Part of the Ikar is, this is really wild, hard to get your brain around. Part of the Ikar is not just that it's Mishpachas David, that you're not allowed to make, that we don't have a time. Like, it seems like that if somebody is one of these people saying, okay, he's going to come in Tufshin Pei Beis, because it means Teishnas, whatever, he's going to come up with some kind of a idea of how Mashiach's going to come this year. Like, you're going against the Ikar. You're going against the Yesod of the Rambam. Like, this should be like Pirush on the side, like some of the things that we know from the Gemara about. But to say it's one of the Yesodos is a that's very special. Meaning it's putting these details in another detail, which is not a detail apparently. What I'm saying is these things are not details. They seem to be part of the Yesod Gufa. So part of the Yesod is that Im Yisma Meya Chakeloi. You should be waiting for Mashiach. Now, that where's this? Why is that? It's pasuk in Chavakuk. Who learns Chavakuk? So it's a pasuk in Chavakuk that Im Yisma Meya Chakeloi. So the Rambam brings in the Ikar that you have to be waiting for Mashiach. Afal pi sheyisma meya im kol zeh achak eloi. Is that like a detail? In other words, if at this moment, if we're not like actually waiting for Mashiach, so then we're koifer in the Ikar. Why am I saying it so strongly? Because he says, for instance, kol hachoylek ala mishpacha zos kafir b'shem, even the name. So it means to say anything I've written here, says the Rambam, in this Ikar, if you don't hold like this lagamri, then start your own religion. This is not, Yiddishkeit has, so there's a number of components here. The fact that, another thing which is like goes without saying, but it has to be said, is that Mashiach, as he, Yemois HaMashiach, but he says you have to believe in Melech HaMashiach, meaning that Mashiach is a Melech. He's marich on this more in the Rambam and Mishnah Torah. See, I had to tell you that, like sometimes, like for full transparency, sometimes one can think that, like Mashiach, it's like a concept. It's like it'll be good. Yatov. Like, do you need a guy actually? Do you actually need a guy, a Mashiach?
Confusing Mashiach and Geula.
Geula. The Geula is one thing. You can believe in the Geula and not believe necessarily that there's going to be a Melech HaMashiach. And okay, there's a Geula. Times will get better. Things will change. And we talk a lot more about the Geula. Right.
Is this the Yemot Mashiach that he references here? This is year 4,000 to 6,000, or this is just we are mitzapeh?
Very good question. So he calls it Yemos HaMashiach because Yemos HaMashiach are specifically 4,000 to 6,000. It could be that during that time, that's when there's a chiyuv to believe every day, to wait. It's not about believing. It's part of the animam. I have to wait.
That's a famous
Okay.
Is it a waiting in action, or is it a wait?
Is it conscious? Is it a conscious waiting?
Kind of thing? Yeah.
Is it?
Chakeloi. You have to wait. That means an active waiting.
Anticipation.
It's like the Sukka.
I'm saying, is it like waiting, as in like there's certain actions that they talk about that have to happen for the Mashiach?
Let's hear waiting for somebody to come to an appointment.
Excuse my ignorance, but last time
Okay.
This was the commentary on Chelik and Perek Chelik. Isn't there a whole discussion in Perek Chelik on Mashiach ben Yosef being killed and the process, and then as that being triggering the process to Mashiach ben? So when you even say the words Mashiach ben Yosef,
talk about Mashiach ben David. He says.
I'm saying as a predecessor.
He doesn't say Mashiach ben Yosef is one of those Ikrim.
That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't say Zikr. The Rambam brings it.
No, but is that
he brings it. He said there'll be Shtei Mashiachim.
Is that by saying the words Mashiach ben Yosef? Is that kafir b'ikar?
No, because it's also true.
Yeah.
It's like saying Melech Chizkiyahu. All Mashiach means is it's a Melech. He's going to be Mashuach, right? He's going to throw oil on his head. That's what they did with kings, right? Shemina Mishcha. That's all it means. So like the word Mashiach, which became Messiah, or Lahavdil of Havdalas, like christened. That's all. It's all one word of Mashiach, but it's actually, I think, pulling us away from the concept. Well, we have to. Here's the concept. Talk about a Melech. Talk about a Melech. The fact that he's Mashuach is just a halach in Hilchos Malachim. We're talking about a Melech. So what are we waiting for? All day and all night, active waiting, like you're waiting for an appointment. You're waiting for a meeting. You're waiting for the minion to start. You're standing there looking at your watch. Huh?
With a meeting, there is man katzur. Like when you say,
Also makes it so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Not only you have to wait, but you don't even know. Like, what are you waiting forever? Yeah. and that's what the Navi said. Im yismameya chakeloi. Like, don't think, okay, like we missed the boat on this one.
But while you're waiting, you can play a game.
Melech HaMashiach.
Yeah, but
Because Yemos HaMashiach, like Doran pointed out, started whether we want it or not. That's already happened.
But it kind of says also that you don't know if it's late or not, because you're not supposed to calculate when he's going to come.
That's what I'm saying. So how are you waiting?
The
So this is tricky. It's tricky. Only a Jew can do this. You have to. I don't know when you're coming, but I'm waiting. I mean, I'm thinking like a. And what are you waiting for? You're waiting for a king. Yeah, like you understand, like a romantic novel where somebody's looking out the window and looking all the time, waiting for his beloved. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay.
That's what they're on saying. From 4,000 to 6,000, that's right.
Yeah, I'm saying you're talking about. What are you waiting for here? You're waiting for a melech. You're waiting for a melech. It's such a you're like. So what's a melech? Let's not over a melech. Like there's a president of the United States. There's a prime minister. In history, there was Nebuchadnezzar, there was Paro, there was Yosef. He was the Melech Mitzrayim. There's all kinds of kings. We're waiting for a melech. Like let's say they thought Chizkiyahu. He could be a good Mashiach, the Gemara says. He could be a good Mashiach. So what was Chizkiyahu? A great man, a great tzaddik, but he was a melech. So we're waiting for a melech. And the Rambam explains, but I just want to emphasize, it's like it's a funny thing. First of all, we don't know when he's coming. What's the whole mystery? Why does it have to be such a mystery? You're not allowed to calculate. So, like, why is this mechuyev to be? I'm throwing out a bunch of questions. I don't know if I know the answers to any of them, but like, why does this have to be such a secret? You know, like Doran said, the world is 6,000 years old, 2,000 years Torah v'vayu, 2,000 years Torah, 2,000 years of Moshe Mashiach. Finished. 6,000 Mashiach's coming. Want to come early? Come early. You're welcome. But does it have to be such a like? Mismameya afal pisha yismameya, which the Rambam doesn't say. He just says imismameya chakeloi. And why would it be part of the Ikar? This is the main thing I want to focus on. Why would it be part of the Ikar to wait? Why not? Like if you believe. Please understand my patience with my question here.
Because in order for there to be malchus, there have to be subjects that are ready to offer their feelings.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
When you're waiting, also you're acknowledging a chisaron.
Well, first, before you go to the second thing, we're saying, in other words, when you're waiting, I want to be. When you're waiting, it means you are willing to be a subject to that king. Otherwise, what are you waiting?
It's kind of similar in Shmuel. It speaks about Shaul, where he first came and they tried to pronounce him king, and then he was kind of hesitant, so he was hiding, and it wasn't until the second time around where he was actually pronounced king.
So what are you saying?
It's kind of a bashfulness of the Mashiach himself to actually come out to the.
But how does that fit with Chakelai?
Because they didn't want back then. They didn't want to wait for him. They went out and they went against him. Even though he was brought up and shown this was the king, they came out against him. And it wasn't until Hashem came and brought the Ammonim against them, that they actually came and they believed after he did Nassim there.
Okay. So let's die the question for a second. I want to sound like a brisker. I can understand that Chakeloi is a halacha in Hilchos Mashiach, but why should it be one of the Yisoidas? It's part of the Yisoid that you have to wait. It's an unbelievable thing. Just like you have to believe in God, you not only have to believe there's going to be a Mashiach, but you got to actually wait for him. I'm saying, is everybody waiting for? I'm waiting. I'm not.
It's a bitzur of the belief. The belief is a theory. It's okay.
No, but also God. It's like you have to believe in God. You don't have to do
things that you have to do for that.
That's true, but it's not part of the Ikar. It's not part of the Ikar.
That it mellows us out because we see so much afuch until we get to him, but we know he's coming. So either you mellow out because you recognize that Hashem's got a bigger plan and we're just not there yet, so you're waiting rather than being upset in the current reality, or perhaps the other way, if we're meant to be bringing him.
So you're saying it has psychological benefit, but this is one of. Just want to make clear. I mean, I'm just myself trying to understand clearly. In other words, but this is part of our amunah. It's not like a benefit or a halacha. Part of the amunah is chakeloi. It's just a strange. It's a strange bitui of amunah, meaning like I have to believe. Believing is usually in your mind.
What comes first, the amunah or the chakel?
And what would it look like to believe in Mashiach but not be waiting for him?
Okay, like all of us. Well, what's your kasha? I don't know what the other way looks like. Okay, Chavetz Chaim with the suitcase. Everyone knows about the Chavetz Chaim with the suitcase, waiting for Mashiach.
Everyone's a Chavetz Chaim in the suitcase.
No, meaning I think most people. Here's what I think. Most people, like from Jews, so they believe in Mashiach. Now, even they don't know what it is. I hope within the next half hour we'll know what it is a little bit better. But I don't think they're even thinking of it as a melech. That's first of all. But when they what does it mean that they believe in there's a Mashiach? Like, it's like there'll be a gula. Like things will get better. I don't think that they're.
When something bad happens, they say we need Mashiach.
Right. Somebody said once, like, it's going to be terrible when Mashiach comes because drushas are never going to end. What are you going to say? Is everybody like those to? Okay, like we start talking about the gula. It's like everybody gets a head out. They've opened the siddur. Like it's a.
And what place does Eliyahu have with this?
What does Eliyahu have to do with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to announce it. He's going to tell us that's Mashiach.
He's the shliach of the Mashiach.
So let's go before I even attempt. Listen, everything everybody's saying is true. I'm just want to bring it out. That's all. I want to bring it out. But let's look in the Rambam in the. It's the same Rambam a little further. Amnam Yemoisa Mashiach Huzman Shetashuv HaMalchus LiYisrael. Here's what we're waiting for. Let's get it clear what we're waiting for, because everybody says Gedaf Reden wegen Mashiach, Bartov Mashiach, but this specific. Yemoisa Mashiach Huzman Shetashuv HaMalchus LiYisrael. First of all, there has to be Malchus LiYisrael. There used to be Malchus LiYisrael. There was a king. There were kings. David HaMelech was a king. Shlomo HaMelech was a king. Chizkiyahu was a king. We had kings, but we lost the kingship. We lost the union of Malchus, right? Literal Malchus. We're not talking nothing fancy. We just lost having a melech. That's not the way our government works now. It's not how. Even now we're in Eretz Yisrael. We don't have a melech. Second thing, v'yachzru le'Eretz Yisrael. This is going to take place in Israel, and we're going to come back to Eretz Yisrael. Part of it. This all, by the way, part of the Ikar. It's part of the Ikar. V'hi oisai, and that man will be Melech Gadol Ma'oid, a very big man. Ubeis Malchusai, and his palace will be his what do you call the headquarters of a king? Palace. Ubeis Malchusai B'Tzion. Yigdal Shmoi v'Zichroi Yamolei Hagoyim Yoser Min HaMelech, and he's going to be such a big, famous, good king that'll be even bigger than the Melech Shlomo. V'yashlimu itoi kol ha'umais. What does that mean? Taich. V'yashlimu. Pay attention. V'yashlimu itoi kol ha'umais. Everyone's going to be mashlim with him. The UN, yeah. So like today, you have the Prime Minister of Israel goes to the UN. Hopefully, he'll do a good job, Bezos Hashem. But 50 people walk out, and this one's arguing with him. Like, there's going to be a matzav here of, first of all, world peace, but the UN's going to be here, because it's going to be in Eretz Yisrael. V'yashlimu itay kol ha'umais, v'yavdu kol ha'aratzais, l'tzitkay hagadol, because he's such a huge tzaddik, ulani flois, and like this guy is wonderful. He's wonderful, wunderbar. Shi'ei al yadai, and he flies shi'ei al yadai, all the unbelievable things that he's doing. V'chol mi sheyakim alav, and anybody who starts up with this king, Yavdeu Hashem Yisalav, Yim Sarai Sebi Yadai, loses. So the emphasis here is on the Melech and the Malchus, which will take place in Eretz Yisrael. So what are we waiting for? Now this is easy. This is much easier than the what we were talking about before. Once we crystallize it, we're waiting. Like we're here in Eretz Yisrael. We already understand what it means. Yachzru le'Eretz Yisrael. Now we're not all here, but
why do you have to do after the Malchus?
So, but the order is a question. We're going to get the order is a question. But the point is, because Mashiach is going to be the attraction. He's going to be. He's what?
The rest of the Jews.
The rest of the Jews, and they're going to have a hard time finding a dira and all. It's not going to be. It's not going to be the same. No, it's not going to be the same. Like we're the smart ones, you get in early, But I just want to. I want to really be mamamesh. I want to give gibui to this thing over here. That we can understand this. That let's say here in Eretz Yisrael, Kamoshahu, with more of the Jews coming in, which we can appreciate, right? The 747's coming in, Al Kanfei Nisharim. We can appreciate all that. And what's hard to appreciate is that everybody will hold to one person. That's hard to understand.
But the Melucha here, the running of this kingdom is within Yemot HaMashiach also. It's not just the waiting Yemot HaMashiach, also the
We're waiting for this. This is part of what we're waiting for.
While he is king and everyone's making shalom.
You know, I don't know if I quoted this Rambam here. Maybe we'll see, but I'll just tell you in advance. The Rambam says that that just like a Navi has to bring an os, has to do some kind of a miracle, so also the Mashiach has to do a miracle to show these Mashiach. And he says it doesn't have to be a miracle, like he doesn't have to do like Kriyas Yamsuf or something like that, but he has to do a miracle. So what's the miracle that he does? The Rambam says that everybody listens to him.
But here it says it's not just Am Yisrael, it's also the whole world.
So here's the question, a very important question. When you understand Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach and Malchus HaMashiach, you're talking about he's going to be the king of the world or the king of Israel? How do you understand it? Tell me I understand, don't think about it too much. King of Israel. Other Malchus, it says Mufresh, right? Nobody's saying he's not going to be a Greece or any other, but he's respected by all the kings. So it means to say there might be other kings. Maybe there's King of Jordan, maybe there's kings. But they're all going to, which is an interesting question, are they going to continue all these different Malchios? Are they going to continue? Because we know that there's only Arba Malchios, and the last Malchus was Malchus Romi, and that ends with Mashiach, with Malchus Yisrael. So there's four major superpowers in world history, right? The Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and then Malchus Yisrael. So this Malchus is going to be Malchus Yisrael. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think it means that every place in the world is going to become a colony to Eretz Yisrael, because it's going to be Malchus Yisrael, and everybody's going to respect him, and they're going to be kafel. And if you start a war with Israel, you're going to lose. Automatically, you're automatic losers. So it's important to remember and to crystallize what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Malchus in Eretz Yisrael of Eretz Yisrael.
Wasn't it like Rabbi Shlomo? The whole world was coming.
They were coming to him, but this is bigger.
It's bigger. This will be the empire. Meaning there'll be more malachim.
Like Malchus Romi.
Yeah, this will be the empire. There'll be other malachim, but this will be it.
Right.
This would be the main.
Okay. Don't be medayik yet. But but it's interesting. Like we all know that the Gemara says, or in Brachos in two places says that the Chachamim would run to see the Malchus Romi. They would run across, even Kohanim would run across cemeteries. The Gemara says to run Likros Malchi Yaakov. Who are they running to see? Titus. Hitler. They were running to see. The Chachamim just picked up their coats and they ran through the fields to take a look at the Roman legions, like it was something special. And why did they do that? They were machmir on this. They made a bracha. They made a bracha. What are you making a bracha on? Bunch of mamzer. What are you making a bracha on? Bracha, you see a melech, you make a bracha. They could be anti-Semites. Who are you running to? You make a bracha. Why? Shim tiskeh, yavchin ben malchi alkam malchi Yisrael. The Gemara says so that you get a feel for Malchus, and once you get a feel for Malchus, you get into the, I guess what it means, you get sort of in the Malchus mood, and once you're in the Malchus mood, then you'll really appreciate what happens when the Melech HaMashiach comes. Then you'll see a different Malchus, different level of Malchus.
Used to say all in our days, the Queen of England or the King of this one, whatever.
I made a bracha on Sadat. Yes. Sadat came through the streets of Yerushalayim, and Rav Yosef was the chief rabbi of Israel. He said everybody should make a bracha.
He's got the power of life and death in his hand.
Life and death, whatever it takes. Rav Yosef, whatever it takes to be a melech. He was a melech. So. Yeah, maybe he held him. Maybe he liked it. Maybe he was his classmate or something. Yeah. No, but the thing is that, we asked Rabbi Scheinberg, should we make a bracha? He told us to go, because the Gemara says you should go. Because you make a bracha, he says that's why you're going. You're going, so it's a pella, you're making a bracha on something which is she'im yisket. It's just like a lesson in majesty. It's not a real thing. But you only make a bracha on a contrast. Think about it. It's sure to make a bracha on it. So the answer, I think the answer is that just like Malchus Yisrael is real, that's real too. This is the Gemara says, Shim Tiska Tavchin, that's talking about, that's why you should run. Likras Malach, you should run to this mitzvah. Doesn't say a lot of mitzvahs you should run. This thing you're making a bracha on it because it's a real melech. It's a real malchus. And it's exactly the same thing, except as Malchus Yisrael is going to be. So let's get a whole different picture. I always talk about which it's a whole different picture of what we're waiting for. And like if I saw Sadat, that's the best I could do. I saw Sadat. By the way, when the President of the United States came through Borough Park, all the poskim said, "Don't make a bracha." So, yeah, Obama.
Rabbi Miller said that when he was in Baltimore, when the President of the United States came through, he rushed to go see him. That was Calvin Coolidge.
Calvin Coolidge. Yeah, but it's not a rush to go see him. Maybe to go see. It's interesting to see also Malchus.
Right.
You're not just saying the Melech. You're saying Malchus.
He wanted to learn the concept of Malchus.
Malchus. Malchus is the entourage. Malchus is the. But Ilya is like stuck on this point that it has to be the power of life and death. The Machlokes Rishonim. It's not so pasha. That's the taich of a melech.
What are some of the others?
He's running the government. He's running the government. But the difference between a melech and life and death. But the difference between a melech and a prime minister is that there's no arguing. The melech said.
The melech is also deposed.
I think the desires were considered melachim.
The only way he's deposed is by death. There's a prime minister.
So in that sense, he has a life and death power. But the life and death is just how he enforces his power.
Like the head of the judiciary, so to speak. Which
He's
America
got the power.
has another U.S.
He's got the power. He could decide. He decides. Are we going to war? Look, are we going to war? Are we not going to war? Are we going to charge taxes? Or are we not going to charge? Right.
And you turn off the media.
Do you have to get a vaccine? You don't have to get a vaccine.
Is Mashiach going to be a prime minister or a king?
Well, prime minister, I think, implies that they're going to have a lot of people arguing with you. I think that's what it means. No? A monarch. I want to tell you something. We don't like monarchs, generally speaking. Like everybody's like upset, like with Vinyassi's upset. We're upset with like the Israeli, where they're telling us what to do. Tav Yarok and vaccines. They're telling us what to do. That's what we're waiting for. Maybe you're waiting for somebody more capable to tell you. But I'm saying we're waiting to be subjects of the king.
That's also it's hard.
It's an unbelievable thing. I mean, growing up as an American, like we don't want to be. I know that at the beginning of America, they wanted to make George Washington the king. That was the obvious thing because everybody's a king, and he said, "No kings, not going to be a king. I don't want." That's the whole idea of America is we're not going to have a king. So the way we grew up, that was a bad thing. Like a king was too much power, and it wasn't democratic, and it wasn't equal rights, and it wasn't the right thing. We're waiting for a king. Waiting for a king. Let's not make comes.
Because we grew up like dictatorship. I mean,
we hate it. Hate it.
And our history of kings has not been very good.
Look who they ran to see. Well, we had some good ones. Like Chizkiyahu was a good king.
Yeah, right.
David HaMelech was a good king.
On one hand of the number of good kings we had.
Yeah. That's true. No, that's true. Shaul. That's true, Shaul.
There's one.
Yeah.
Why did you say not to be, when you were discussing the Abba Malchus, you said, don't be Medayek in the Malchus of
Because I'm going to do that. Because I'm going to be with that.
I'll take my. But okay. Am I creating? I'm just reading the Rambam. Am I creating some kind of a picture here that's like a little bit different? In other words, we're looking for a melech, we're looking for a government, we're looking for a people that are going to not by the people, of the people, for the people. Like you're talking about. We're looking for a melech who's going to simply tell us what to do. He's going to be a melech of Jews and a melech of Israel. Of a Jewish country called Eretz Yisrael. There's going to be kibbutz skolios, he says. People are, and he's going to be going to be very impressed. All the goyim are going to be very impressed with his niflois and his tzidkas. But it's a picture that not only, I don't know if we realize this picture, but chakeloi. There's an obligation to wait for this all the time. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Let's go a little further. V'chol mi sheyakam always did that. V'chol psukei hamikra meidin al hatzlachasei v'hatzlachasenu Imai v'layishtana b'metzius, and this is the next thing, part of the Ikar. Layishtana b'metzius shum davar mimashehu ata. And don't think that we're going to be living in some kind of a miraculous world. Elo shamalchus tachzir liyisrael. All you're going to see is this. This can happen tomorrow. All you're going to see is that a malchus tachzir liyisrael, that there's going to be a melech again in Israel. It can happen. All of a sudden, like the government decides, enough, we want a melech, not a prime minister, not a president, a melech. V'zel lashon chacham, and this is what the chacham say, ein bein olam hazeh li'moiseh Mashiach ela shibud malchiyos bilvad. The main difference you're going to see is that we don't have to be, there's no shibud malchiyos. So what is shibud malchiyos? How would you define shibud malchiyos? First of all, we don't have to run to get money for Iron Dome, but Terry said there's not going to be any need for Iron Domes. But Iron Domes is a defensive measure to protect us. But if everybody's holding of us and wanting us to be and sending us money, and like Shlomo Melech didn't need an Iron Dome. The beginning. Okay, then. By the way, this is not necessarily, I said tomorrow, but it could be, there's a process even once the Mashiach and Melech HaMashiach happens. But the picture in our mind, you want to draw a picture on the board, we're looking at a government which is not the system of government which you have today. It's not the system of America. It's a system that most of us are not familiar with, a system of Malchus, a monarchy system. It's going to be a system where that chief monarch is going to be a tzaddik. And it's going to be, there's not going to be any shibud malchiyos, in the sense that nobody's going to go nobody's going to try to enslave the Jews or get us to do or hate the Jews. There's no shibud malchiyos. Shibud malchiyos means that we have to come on to other malchiyos. We have a shibud to other malchiyos. That's gone. The main thing that's going to happen when this happens, is that we can relax about everybody hating us. What are the news stations going to write about? No, really. I mean, what are they going to write about? And by the way, even I think, I don't mean to sound like a Michiganer, but I think even like the illnesses. How much illness and pandemic is furthered by? It's a real thing, but how much is furthered by politics also? So much political, and there's so much political parts to it. So who knows? Like everyone says, they found medicines. Why don't they give people these medicines? What's the they find it cures 39 out of 40 people. Why don't they give people the medicine? Politics. Okay, that's not a good answer. Politics. So you got to get it like on the black market. You got to go to Bet and and get some medicine to, it's an unbelievable thing. The Chastei Amram, like you got to. It's an interesting, but like I'm saying, even something like that, even the science can change once there's no politics. So once nobody's sharing, nobody's keeping their secrets and people are just sharing and
No copyright into the realm of life and death. They're controlling life and death when they're doing that. In the political realm, when they're actually controlling these medicines.
And they'll control it well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they'll do it right. I mean, Hashem will do it. I mean, right. the Mashiach will do it right.
They're trying to do it, but they're not doing it.
He says like a different aspect of Shibud Malchus, kulam. We still can't do all the mitzvahs. I mean, what's one mitzvah we can't do because of Shibud Malchus? Karbanos. Can't build a Beis HaMikdash. Here we are, Eretz Yisrael, Jewish government, everything, Tzahal, everything. So, you can pray on the Har HaBayis discreetly. That's the halach I saw today. Vitarba, discreetly. Yeah. Vitarba chachma, there'll be a lot of chachma. Shenemar ki mala haaretz deya. Now, mala haaretz deya is going on the Jewish people or everywhere? There'll be chachma all over. I think it means everywhere. The world. There'll be more chachma. V'yishbesu al milchamais.
We're supposed to have yishuv haaretz. Why should it be the world? Why not just here?
Because look, yishbesu al milchamais. All the malaha haaretz deya. Haaretz means the whole world. I mean, that's what it means. K'mashinemar v'layisu goy el goy cherev. There won't be any wars.
Deya is Deya of Hashem. Hashem exists. What's there?
That's part of it. Meaning, like, if you're an intelligent person and there's you believe things that are things that there's no question about, so the questioning is over. It becomes very, very clear that there's Hashem. We'll be able to do what we need to do in this world correctly, so that, and here's so that we can go to Olam Haba. I think here Olam Haba means Olam Haba. We're not looking here for. What are we waiting for? We're waiting to get rich. We're waiting for the crops to work well. What are we? No, not waiting for wealth. We're not looking for big cars. And we're not looking for fancy, drinking wine, good wines. Those that are mevalbel, that's how they talk about Mashiach. What the Nevi'im were waiting for, what the Hasidim are waiting for, Yemoisa Mashiach, V'rabsam Chukasam, my love, L'Mashiach boy mikibutz hatzadikim v'anhagas ha'toiva v'achachma v'tzedek ha'melech v'roiv yoshroi v'aflogas chachmasei v'kurvasei el elikim. Meaning, to put it in my words, they're waiting for a good world. It's not necessarily we're supposed to be rich, or we're supposed to, now everybody gets to have a big horse, or everybody's got good wine. It's not just a time of festivity. The festivity will be there. The Rambam says first, by the way, in the Yad, that all this festivity will be there.
I thought he was saying here that that's not what's going to happen, because the only difference is going to be the
that's not what we're waiting for. I think that's the shot.
When you're teaching cleanup to kids, you should actually use some sort of form of. It's going to be a lot of.
The Nakuda is there's two dinim here. There's a din of what we're waiting for and what's going to be. So what's going to be? He says we don't know exactly what's going to be, but you find a lot of Chazal that talks about. But Shibud Malchus we're waiting for. That's part of the Chakeloi. We're waiting to be free. That we're waiting for. In other words, like he doesn't look carefully. He goes
into that in Perish Mishnayos. That's where.
So let's get to the Ein Bain, or it could be that's a different period, the Ein Bain. But what he's talking about, he said, what's our taiva? What are tzadikim yearning for? What are we davening for? That's. So, what I want to explain here for a few minutes, that's later, before we go further, is why is this so important? Like sof kol sof, okay. I mean, it's nice information. There's going to be a melech, there's going to be a malchus, the government's going to agree on something, the people are going to agree on something. A little bit boring, there's not going to be any machlekes about, no politics. I guess there's no politics, right? No need for any politics. What's the point of politicizing? Right. So politics is a modern invention. In other words, when there's no monarchy, there's a politics.
Everyone's going to agree, or it just means that.
But you're going to see it. It's going to be Malaretz Deya means it's going to be muchach that what that is the truth.
So everyone will agree with what he's saying.
I guess they'll agree. Universally accepted.
They'll agree not by force, but by.
Yeah, Malaretz Deya. So, but let me ask my question because that's what I want to answer. I understand that this is such an important idea in history, as in the future, and it's an important thing because all the Nevi'im said it, and they reminded of this all the time, but the Rambam is saying that if you don't believe this, you're a kafir beikar. That the Gemara doesn't say so clearly. Kofar Beikar, like why does this and also that Hakeloi is a Kofar Beikar. I'll be waiting for this. That is not every day, every minute. Like this is what I'm waiting for. This is what I'm waiting for.
It must be a Kofar Beikar if we're all talking here and everybody's asking very good questions, so it's obviously not so clear. So how could you could say
it's good you came. I mean it's good we're doing this, yeah. Like if this is such right.
Otherwise none of us is enough to drink the wine we're pouring.
Not true. In other words, if somebody says, I don't believe in Mashiach, go for Baker.
Right.
Yeah.
But isn't a Mashiach a conduit to help us reach Hashem Echad, Shmo Echad?
Okay. So what are we waiting for? So let me just explain this for a few minutes. Let me say a Yesod, which this very intelligent Olam knows, but I just want to say it because I want to put it in this whole thing in a perspective, in context. Like, in order to understand the inyan of waiting for Melech HaMashiach, and I think we have to start emphasizing the Melech more than the oil, the Mashiach, the Messiah. I think we have to look at the king. Whereas the Rambam's emphasis here is on the Malchus and on the Melech and on lack of Shibud Malchias. Shibud Malchias. And there's going to be Malchias, but lack of Shibud Malchias. So in order to understand like what we're waiting for, like it's very important to understand what we're in now. So in order to understand Geula, I think it's important to understand Golus. And what is Golus? Because like most of us are doing okay with Golus. No. Some people are doing very well with Golus. And you ask them, we want Mashiach to come. Of course they want Mashiach to come. They're davening for Mashiach. They're waiting for Mashiach. They're waiting for the Beis HaMikdash. But it's like, I'm not talking about people saying they don't really want Mashiach. It's going to ruin my business. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like people who really want Mashiach to come, but it's a thing that they want. Like it's a thing that they want. It's not like part of their whole life, like Mashiach. Now that you mention it, yeah, it'd be nice if Mashiach comes, or when there's a big tzara, want Mashiach to come. Well, what we have to understand is this is very important, very deep. What we have to understand is the situation we're in now is Golus, and what that means is it's really very simple but very deep, and that means that from the time that Adam HaRishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, way back, day one, there was Golus began. And it developed very shortly to Kain and Hevel, and we're Nav and Nod, Baritz. Nav and Nod is Golus. Golus is even earlier, because Ha'olam Haisa Sayu V'Vayu V'Choshech Al Pnei Toim, and the Gemara says Toyu V'Vayu, that's Golus. And Avram Avinu later, a couple thousand years later, had a Nevuah, Yadoya Teda, you should know that you're going to be in Golus. So like this Golus, we all talk about, that's another thing we all talk about, but like Golus. I think to most people, like Mashiach, I'm not, by the way, I'm not giving, don't understand I'm giving like Musar here or something, because I'm just saying, I'm just trying to analyze my own thinking here. Like Mashiach's a good end game. Like that's okay, that's a good thing. But what's supposed to, the transition from Golus to Geula, is the transition from Shibud Malchios to Malchus Melech HaMashiach is undoing the chet of Adam HaRishon, which broke the world, and we're living in a world, and this is what we're used to, but this is I think the Yesod, we're living in a world right now which is broken. Nikuda. Like it might be good for some people. It's good for me. But if a Holocaust can happen, Holocaust was Jews. We take it personally, rightfully so. But like right now, Ethiopia and countries we never even heard of, killing thousands of people every day. Like this is not a normal world. It's not a normal world. The world is broken. The world is lo nachon, lo takin. It's a broken world. Can we live in it? We can live in it, because and I'll explain why we can live in it. But because that's all part of the nevuah of Golus. What we're looking for is the end of Golus, which is a world which is lo nachon, a world which is lo takin, a broken world, coming to a world which is correct. A correct world. That's all. Don't have to get excited about miracles. Hagufa-ness. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be like breads growing on trees. It just means that the world is going to work correctly. Right now the world doesn't work correctly. So to understand it, it's very simple, very deep. So the chakeloi, understand this. Chakeloi, every minute wait, means when is this chaos going to end? The chakeloi means to recognize the fact. There's a, what do they call that? Stockholm syndrome. You know what that is? Yeah. So all of a sudden what's completely abnormal becomes normal. So the mind plays tricks on you. So like we're all like it in that kind of a situation. Like the first time we heard about the pandemic and people like dying on the train station or like, who died today? We got to a point last year, like who died today? Like, oh, that guy, another dropping like flies, Like it's you get used to, the mind gets used to the dark. Your eyes get used to the dark. And you begin to see. But you can't see, it's not, you don't realize how much you can't see until the lights go on. So let's more omek. Which somebody said this. That Golus Toyu Vavayu Hashem created before the world. Or says Toyu Vavayu, that Toyu Vavayu was a matzav of the world before there was Gan Eden, before there was Adam Harishon, there was Toyu Vavayu. And Chazal say this a lot. Let's say we're at Har Sinai. Either you're makabel the Torah, or I'm going to return the world to Toyu Vavoyu. It doesn't mean the world's going to blow up. It's going to become like a nuclear war. That's not what Tohu Vavohu is. Tohu Vavohu is a form of chaos where there's no order. That's what chaos means. There's no order, and some people are trying to make order, but they're not succeeding really in making order. And there's so many tries, and I think to myself all the time, like I say, I grew up like in the American system, very proud Americans. We grew up proud Americans. My father served in the military. We're proud Americans, said the Pledge of Allegiance and everything. But and like the worlds before were all bad, like communism, that was bad. All the different alternative governments were bad. The only thing was good was America and Western civilization. You grew up like that too, right? So it's probably true in a way. But, who knows what's like in another century, maybe it'll come up with something different, And Israel's not America either, but it was socialism, a different type of a government. So like what we grow up in, like, so that's good. You always make the comment, like Israelis don't know any other way. Like Americans always have a hard time with Israeli government and laws. And Israelis, they don't get excited about the taxes and about the bureaucracy and about only we get excited about those kind of things. And if you would talk to a communist in the former Soviet Union who was like really, they didn't feel oppressed. And nor does the Taliban feel like they want to be Americans. Or any place, most of the world doesn't feel like they want to be Americans, nor do the Indians want to be Americans. Okay, we have our own system. Like, why are you coming and ruining our system? It's not so simple. So it's a good system, but the whole thing is a broken system with different types of governments and different geniuses and different leaders coming up with different movements and different ideologies and different things which could possibly fix the broken world, fix the fact that there are people starving in the streets, fix the fact that there are places that people are just killing each other, like when there's hefker, fix the corruption. But I think what the yesod of Golus is that it's a makom uvat. The whole thing is like wrong. Yeser Omek, just understand it, that I made this point many times, that if you'll open any Kabbalah Sefer, the Arizal, Chaim Vital, the Ramchal, the Zohar, the Shalah, any Kabbalah Sefer, pick your Kabbalah Sefer, Shari Oira, they all start with the same subject. Every one of these Kabbalah Sfarim start with the same subject. Shari Oyer is Haskalah, the Ramchal. Like, first question is, why did Hashem create the world? They're busy with that question. And the first 10 pages of every Kabbalah Sefer is to explain, or at least to ask the question, as to why did Hashem create the world. And really, that's like the whole. You don't find this in the Chumash. You don't find it in Shas so much. Why did Hashem create the world? A little bit, but mostly you find it in Kabbalah Sfarim. Why did Hashem create the world? So I'm not a Makubal, and I don't usually get past the first 10 pages anyway. But if you learn the beginning, I mean, I learned a lot with I learned with Rav Yaacov Haber for many years. But if you learn, you'll see that that's the question, and the answer, the common denominator of all the different Sfarim, is the answer is one, that Olam Chesed Yibana, including the Shas. Olam Chesed Yibana, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to have, in the Lashon of the Mekubalim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to have a Malchus, a Dira B'Tachtonim, which is a Malchus. So, why did Hashem want to have a Malchus? In Li Musag. To start to try to think about why Hashem wants anything, I don't know. I got to figure out first what I want, why I want what I want. But why Hashem wants something, I don't know. What we can understand a little bit on Mokum Shiyodenu Magas is that if let's say you're a person who's full of chesed, and you've got a lot of money, you want to give it out, and it's burning a hole in your pocket. So you're looking for an ani. You're looking for with licht. You're looking for an ani to help. Baruch Hashem, I found somebody I could help. That's like completes the circuit. So, Lefi Hasaga Seinu, the Mekubalim say, as much as we can understand Hashem needs anything, but Hashem is a melech. Ein melech b'loyam. Ein melech b'loyam. How could you be a melech of what? So, well, what do you mean? He's the melech of the malachim, melech of the malachim. He's the melech of the stars. He's the melech of all the celestial creations and beings, like chaser lecha, like this tiny little earth. Earth is nothing. It's nothing. It's like a drop on a pin. The whole earth. So that's chaser Hashem. This melech. So yeah, because ein melech b'loyam. What's the difference between us? There's a lashon of Reb Tzaddik, a gavaldik lashon of Reb Tzaddik. It says, "Ein bein b'nei Yisrael." There's another ein bein for you. Ein bein b'nei Yisrael v'malachei ashoris ela b'chir chavshis bilvad. The only difference is that that's no malchus. Having a bunch of Gavriel and Michaels and Rafals around you is not really a malchus. It's not a malchus because they don't have free choice. They're just created to serve, and they serve. A malchus means I'm doing it beratzin. How do I know? So now I get to Doran's point. Wake up. Ki Lashem hamlucha u'moshel b'goyim. Hashem hamlucha u'moshel b'goyim. So murgul b'puma da'ama, the words of the Gra. Ki Lashem hamlucha, a malucha is beratzin. Mamshel is balkarchach. So if I'm a melech, you want to listen to me. That's what Mashiach is going to be. If I'm a moshel, you got to listen to me. Paro was a moshel b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. Even Yosef was a moshel b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. So a melech, Hashem wants to be a melech. You can't be a melech without an am. You can't be an am unless you choose to be an am. So you have to be ein melech b'loyam, means he had to create this being, this creation, which has bechira chavshis, which has some type of choices to make. So he created Adam and Chava, and they blew it. This is what happens when you create somebody with a choice. First, the first creation in who knows how many gazillions of years, if you can measure it in infinity, is Adam and Chava, and you have free choice. Okay, we choose wrong. So they choose wrong. What did they choose? Let's think about it for a second. Just Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet. What do they choose? They chose not to be subjects of the king. In other words, they chose what's a melech? Hashem made the world because He's a Melech, so we're a Malchus. What's a Malchus? That we're doing Hashem's Ratzon. So you create people because they have a choice to do Hashem's Ratzon, and then they choose against it. They're choosing their own Malchus, like Malchus Bavel, like the Tower of Babel. Let's do our own thing. Nasalon Hashem. Let's do our own thing. So so what happened? Toyev Avoyu. This is what all the Mekubalim explain. Let's reintroduce Toyev Avo. But this time, and that's why I said, how do I know you can live in Gullus? Not just because we're living in Gullus, but why can we live in Gullus? We can live in Gullus because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided He's not going to destroy the world and wait for us to do tshuva and to be Masakin in the world. So now we're not waiting for Hashem to create another world, we're waiting for Tikkun. Tikkun, this is the whole Aleinu that we say. The whole Al-Kain Kava. Masakin Olam Malchus Shakai. Chov Nei Basi Yikru Shmach Laf Nizlach L'Kol Rishar Tzekir L'Kol Yeshu Sevel.
Tikkun just bring it back to
That they do. The Tikkun gets us back. It's like a new, the whole problem is that we turned. The whole problem is we turned away. So we're not Malchus. So what's the Tikkun to make Malchus? Yeah, but what are we doing? What are we setting? So what's the reset? The reset is to get back into Malchus mode and do what we were supposed to do to begin with.
To have the Ratzon and not do the wrong thing.
Right.
Interesting. Love and Hashem.
Before you change the subject, I just want to get this Nakuda very clear. Meaning that the Chet of Adam Arishan, the original sin, which volumes and volumes written about, for our purposes, and the Ikar of the whole Chet was that we did not make the right choice of Malchus, which was tragic, not because we did an Aveira. It's missing the point to think we did an Aveira. It's tragic because we defied the whole purpose of the creation to begin with. The whole purpose of the creation was because Hashem wanted a Malchus. For whatever reasons He wanted a Malchus. So if Hashem wanted a Malchus, He created us. I'm giving you a nice place. I'm giving you here's your Malchus, and I'm giving people. I'm making clear chashas, and then we blow it. Meaning, okay, we're not going to be part of your Malchus. We're going to do our own thing, and which is literally what the Chet of the Eitz Hadas was, right? It will be Kehillat Yudei Toiv Ra. That was all the Chatoim of history. We don't need this Malchus. So we're here. We're independent. And if we're independent, what do we need the Malchus? So therefore, to understand Golus is to understand what happens when there's no Malchus. And it's really very simple, even though the Mekubalim use very, very difficult concepts to explain this. It's a really very simple thing that if there's no Malchus, there's chaos. Everything's chaotic. You're going to have to try to build. Everyone tried to make a go of it. Still trying to make a go of it, but it's all chaos, yeah?
The Malchus that we don't have is the Malchus of Hashem, as opposed to a Melech Basar V'Dam.
So the Melech Basar V'Dam, Molar Tzdeya, what's the pasuk? The main pasuk of Mashiach is that we're going to go back. Malchus Shalchahi, the whole point of the Gula of Chakeloi. This is really the answer to the whole thing. The whole Chakeloi, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the Malchus Hashem to go back. Then we go back into a non-broken world, the world of Gan Eden, which is not broken.
When Hashem created
Didn't work.
When Hashem created Adam, so he was the Melech. Why do we need a Melech HaMashiach to...
Because Malchus is the So if you don't have a Malchus here, which is all subjugated to the subjects of the Malchus Hashem, so then you don't have the mirror Malchus. See, look, let me try to say it like this. That what happened with Malchus Romi, we're all running to see. I presume they're running to see Malchus Yavon also. So what was that? That was like one side of the Malchus. That was the underside of the Malchus, because the Malchus, since the Malchus needs Bechir Chavshis, the type of malchus we're describing here. So bechira chavshus could be to do your own thing and make it good for you, or to make it the way the world was intended, the way Hashem wanted to make the world, which was a malchus of Hashem. So we have to make a malchus to be mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the whole chakeloi what? Mashiach's also coming. The chakeloi is that we should go back to Gan Eden and go back into a world which is not broken, and try to imagine for a world that's not broken, because the world is so broken. Just read the news, you see the world is broken. So if the world is so broken, we're understanding what Golus is, and instead of like getting used to it, which could be also a derech or a mahalach, but it's not a good mahalach. Why? Because kol zman we're getting used to it. The wrong malchus roimi, malchus yitzhar. The kol zman we're getting used to it. We're not busy with making the malchus Hashem. So comes a Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach, and he's creating a malchus which is based on the principle of Gan Eden.
But in Gan Eden, Hashem didn't create a malchus where there was a melech and the subjects. Why can't that same model?
I understand that as malchus, but Gan Eden.
But who is the melech? Hashem.
Hashem is a melech, but Adam Arishan, well, we have to be part of the malchus. You mean, why does there have to be a physical manifestation of the Gula?
Not the physical manifestation.
He was the melech.
He was Lord Al Shabbat.
He was chitas. Should I start from the beginning of the shir?
Rabbi, can I suggest an idea?
Makara.
This one's so quick.
Ah.
Rabbi, if I said it correctly, we have a concept of Le Melachim Yad Hashem. And all the Melachim at some point don't have Bechira Chofrit, or the Ratzon can come in to full. Like Hashem kind of hands a grip of them. Maybe Melech HaMashiach, he will have the full Ratzon and he will do the right thing.
But you know that the Leiv Miyachim B'Yad Hashem is not to do his Ratzon. The Leiv Melachim B'Yad Hashem is that I'm going to let you do Ra. Like, it's not just because Leiv Melachim B'Yad Hashem everything is good, because everything's not good. Just take your finger off the trigger for 1 minute, and the state of Israel's not here. I'm not here to like break the news that we're in trouble. I'm saying the chakeloi is that the world is broken and we have to get back. I want to just make a point here, an important point, that like Malchus B'chlal, maybe answers your point, which is a good question, but like Chaim's asking, like, why do you need actually a physical melech? Why do you need a Malchus Da'ara? But I guess that's what Hashem wants, is a Malchus Da'ara. Right. But here's an example. No, but why do we need a melech? Hashem melech, Hashem melech, Hashem melech. So, but that melech, I'm just saying Malchus, first of all, Leisle Megar Me Klum. So a melech has nothing in it for himself. A melech is just a manifestation of the Malchus of the Shekhinah. We're waiting for the Gula, just because so many things like running through my mind that I want to say, but like we're waiting, everyone says, okay, we'll build the base of Mikdash, B'meir of Yameinu. Amen. But that's not the point. The point is Shibun Malchias. We'll build the base of Mikdash. True, we'll build the base of Mikdash, and the Rambam says we'll be able to bring karbanos, and we'll be able to do all the mitzvahs, and Yerushalayim will be the capital city, and the base of Mikdash will be beautiful. But it's not we're waiting for the base of Mikdash. We're waiting for the Malchus Hashem. Part of a Malchus Hashem is the base of Mikdash. Part of the Malchus Hashem is Makriv Karbanos and doing mitzvahs and Shemitah, and it says Chayzer Hashmitim va'yovelos lim koimam. That's all part of the Malchus Hashem. But what we're waiting for here is we made the wrong choice in Gan Eden. Now, I want to just make 2 points. First of all, this tikkun that we're waiting for, we've been working on since the beginning. We're
supposed to be doing things to be Nesakin Elo Malchus Shakai. In other words, Nechakelo means, okay, you know what, we'll do it.
So yes. So what? Oh, so that's why you need a melech.
That's why you need a melech.
Okay. So chakeloi and do something about it. So it wasn't until Avram Avinu v'notal schar kula. So before Avram Avinu, Noach was born. What did they say? Zeh Yinachamenu, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe that's what they said. Maybe this is the Mashiach. Maybe this is the Mashiach. Okay, we suffered enough in all these generations till Noach, and maybe.
They said he was masaking Caleb in order because of the.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fingers were separated.
Finger. Zayinachamenu. A kolpanim, but they thought that was it, but he didn't. He wasn't the Mashiach because he didn't teach. Until the whole Parshas Noach, the whole story of Noach, it doesn't have one word from Noach until the last couple of sentences there. Noach doesn't say anything. It was like about Yober Noach. It was just, he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. But I mean, he was a tzaddik. But okay, so Avram Avinu, he'll be the tikkun. So he thought also Avram Avinu make the tikkun, but he wasn't able to reach enough people to make the tikkun. So he said, okay, make Yitzchak. Do the Akedah, and that'll be a tikkun. Or the Yaakov, that'll be the tikkun. And came Klal Yisrael to make the tikkun. And each time we thought Zayinachamenu. We thought that's going to be the tikkun. As it say by Yaakov Avinu right before he died? Bikesh Yaakov L'galos es Haketz. And he lost his Nistalkim Mimenu Ruach HaKodesh. So what was the Nistalkim Mimenu Ruach HaKodesh? Why? It wasn't the time. But what was he saying? Like, maybe we did it. We finished with Yosef. We had all the stories. We had all the pain, right? Yaakov was the embodiment of a golus. He was the embodiment of a golus who went through enough. We're Masakin, my grandfather, Shem Avoisai, Avram Yitzchak. Let's make the gula. No, it's not enough. You need the shvatim. And they answered, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What does it mean? What does it mean when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad? Kabbalas, all Malchus Shemayim. That's the reason all we're doing when we're saying Shema Yisrael, all we're doing. But the point of saying Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad is Makabel, all Malchus Shemayim. What did the son say to Yaakov? No. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shem Shein Belibcha El Echad Kach. We all believe the same with all of our machlekes. We're all the same thing. We're all they said in that room where Yaakov was, they were all makabel, all malchus shemayim together. And at that moment, because Yaakov L'galos is Haketz, that moment there was a Mashiach moment. But the point is that was a Chazar L'Gan Eden. It was mamash a Chazar L'Gan Eden in the sense that everybody chose right, and the malchus belonged to Hashem in that room. But not in the whole world. Not in the whole world. Could have been Mashiach ben Yosef, like you say. Maybe it could have been. I don't know. Yehuda, like Yasser Shevet ben Yehuda. Maybe Yehuda could have been the Melech, but whatever. We all know the stories. It didn't happen like that, and kept on going and going and going until it came to David HaMelech. And this is the pshat in the Rambam, that believing. This lashon chol hachoylek ala mishpacha hazois kafar b'shem Hashem Yisbarach. If you're choylek on the mishpacha hazois, the Davidson family, if you're choylek on this family, so you're choylek on Hashem Yisbarach. So what does it mean? It means that ad she'higia l'David HaMelech, we're working and working and working through. You know what happened here with Ammon and Moav and Rus, and until you got to David HaMelech, we're working to try to find the tikkun, and finally by David HaMelech, Zayinachamenu. Maybe this will be David Melech Yisrael. It was the Melech. He was a Melech. So as a Melech, he's creating a Malchus Da'ara, and in that Malchus Da'ara, we can see Malchus. Okay. So important because of the quote here on the side. Everybody knows the Chazal, anyways. But the Chazal say that here, K'moy kein chaye David HaMelech in Zion, Shivim. David HaMelech lived 70 years. Elu Shivim Shana Chasr Me'ad Adam Arishan. Zion. How long did Adam Arishan live? So he's supposed to live 1,000. Yeah. Lived to 930, so 70 years he gave to David. Because David was supposed to be a miscarriage. his neshama would have come, his neshama would have gone. And Adam Rishon saw this, and he said, okay, I donate 70 years. And that's how I'm like, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Amar L'Adam Rishon Bi Yom HaChalcham Imenu B'Yom HaShal HaKadosh Baruch Hu Elef Shana. Okay, so Chazal darshan that he gave David 70 years. So like if Adam Rishon had the koach to look through all of history as it's going to unfold, so like that was where he gave his, like, I'll give him 70 years in mind. Dafka David HaMelech. Why Dafka David HaMelech? Why didn't he give another severe? Oh, so the answer is because David HaMelech is going to be a tikkun for my mistake. The chet of the Eitz Hadas and giving up the malchus of Hashem by being boicher bara, Eitz Hadas Tovera, by being boicher in creating another malchus other than the malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which was Adam Rishon's choice here. The only one who's going to make that tikkun is David HaMelech, as I look through history, and he hasn't got any years. So I give him 70 years to make the tikkun and to begin a malchus based David. Harbe damim shafachta. David HaMelech couldn't build the Beis HaMikdash. Shlomo. So Shlomo could have been Mashiach also. That was the tikkun, or it wouldn't have been David, wouldn't have been Shlomo. But Shlomo HaMelech could have made the tikkun, and then he also miscalculated. He also miscalculated by marrying Bas Paro. And it's so meduik in Chazal, because what happened when he married Bas Paro, whatever, like everyone's mataritz, what his cheshbonos where he wanted to bring, the klipa in and the goyim in and everything. Tachlis, like, he married a shiksa. and I'm not, it's not me saying, Chazal say that, what happened was at that moment came a malach and threw soil into the Atlantic Ocean and started an island, and that's where Malchus Roimi was built. Meaning, the Malchus went back to Adam. The Malchus Roimi, until you get to Rome, you have Babylonians and Greeks. The Malchus went back to Adam. Malchus Roimi was the ultimate Esav, was the ultimate in taking the Malchus away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that the tikkun was supposed to be made al Yedei David. The tikkun, he couldn't do it. Harbe damim shavachta. Beis Hashem, mamash the Beis Hamikdash, and v'no'ar lov kol hagoyim. Everything was beautiful by Shlomo HaMelech. But then he made this mistake. I'll say it says in Tanakh he made a mistake. He made a mistake, and out came Malchus Romi. Think about it. But I want to make so the Chakeloi, the whole Mashiach thing, the whole Ikar that we're learning here, and I just want to sum it up here. Everything we're learning here comes down to one simple yesod, like a simple yesod. It answers, I think, all the questions. Why it has to be Mishpachas David? It's because there's a process, and the process started right after Adam HaRishon. I guess he started the process. He gave his years to David HaMelech. You can't go now and start a new process. If you start a new process, then you're starting a new religion. Part of the Ikar is, part of the Yesod of Yesod Yud Beis, is that stick with the plan. You're B'nai Yisrael. The B'nai Yisrael, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Our job is to be Mekabel Al Malchus Shemayim, and David's job was to make the tikkun. So bring here Adam is Rashi Tevis, Adam, David, Mashiach. Melech, like the Maharal says, one of the first Maharals in Derech Hashem. Melech, you turn around the Yossi, says Kulam. So in order for there to be Malchus, you need Kulam. But the Seder Advarim has to be Adam, David, Mashiach. So, Kol HaKofer b'mishpachas, what's the lashon there? Anybody's kofer in that mishpacha, kofer b'Hashem Yisparach. Meaning, like, you're denying the process that Hashem put into place in history.
So what were the Avos doing?
Starting the process. Avos. Ein karin avos elo l'shleisha.
No, it's all the ones you thought, Noah or Abraham or.
That's all the Yismameyas. Nacham. B'diuk. Exactly what I was going to say. You know, I just want to make this point I've been trying to say, and I keep on getting not distracted, but I want to be distracted for a second to say this point that there's the Ramchal explains this in Derech Hashem, and I think it's Pshita that since Hashem made Adam, there's a natural yearning for Malchus, not to be a Melech, but to have a Melech. Like, there's no such thing. A person I mean, this is a new thing to think about, but a person wants to have a Melech. They're saying, well, a Melech. We want to have a monarchy on our head. A person wants to have a Melech. It could be a Melech Zaken Uksil. The Gemara says that's the Yetzer Hara. But look at this. That Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, took us out of Mitzrayim, brought us to the Midbar, brought us to Har Sinai, miracles, everything. He's missing for one day, and they couldn't handle it. So they made another Melech, and it doesn't make a difference who the Melech is. Egel Azav. The Egel Azav was like this. Nature abhors a vacuum, and we can't be without a Melech. So, you know, like, why are people always like following these movements, and becoming part of? Everybody is becoming part of something. Like normal people, you don't just stay passive on the side. If you're American, you're an American. If you're a communist, you're a communist. There's also like, you know, like this crazy need for icons. You know, like if you spot a movie star, it's like Meshuggah. Everyone's walking around them and like autograph. What'd they do already? They memorize lines. They're good at saying that, you know, you meet a rock star. Beseder, I'm not taking away from. I'm just, you know, like, but it's an avodah zarah, mamish. It's mamish avodah zarah. Sports, it's too much. Not just to admire it. A guy kicks the ball good. These become iconic figures. And the iconic. Think about the word icon for a second, right? So remember that Avram Avinu was an iconoclast. So iconoclast is somebody who breaks idols. That's what breaks icons. Iconoclast. It's because of the story of Avram Avinu. But that story is such a deep story. It wasn't just breaking the idols in his father's house. He was breaking the principles and the icons that were there at that time. All these avodah zarahs that have gone on throughout all the generations. I think ad hayom hazeh, where we choose icons because we can't be without icons. We just simply can't be. So it was the Maharal says this, that if we don't choose to be part of the Malchus Hashem, we're choosing. You think about it. We're choosing some other thing, which is a melech. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's business. Maybe I don't know. You know, everybody has their thing that they're like. You know, they're really like leading their life according to this thing. Unless you feel like you're a melech yourself, then I'm a thought leader or something. But even then, you have your malchus. But anyways, that's just a side point that I want to bring out. But the main nekuda here is that when the Rambam, if you look at the Rambam again, what we're seeing over here is that understanding the yesod of every single day, afal pishi yismameya, with all the tikkunim that have to be made, tikkunim upon tikkunim upon tikkunim, to create this malchus shakai that we talk about in Aliyah, afal pishi yismameya, chakeloi. That's what Chavakuk said. Chakeloi. Wait, because the process is not over. Don't start your own process. If you start your own process, then you're a kofer in the Malchus Hashem. Hashem has a plan for history. And all of these things that are happening in history, if you look at it, everything had to happen in history. Everything happened in history. I have time for one more nekuda. Important nekuda. Talking about like the evolving history. I'm trying to use another word, but I can't think of one. like the unfolding of history. So, like what we're learning here is that the Malchus of David and Shlomo and the Malchus based David. This is our bracha and Haftarah, right? Say the Haftarah. That's what we're talking about. Malchus based David. So the chiddush is that. Okay, here's the other thing. Is this tikkun incremental, or do we think about it? Let's say before tonight, as Mashiach will come. It's going to fall down from the Shemayim. Something's going to happen. Or is it something that's happening? So everything that I've been saying here for the last half hour is the increments of history which create a Malchus Hashem until we get to the final Malchus Hashem, including Kibbutz Goliath and coming to Eretz Yisrael and having a Melech, having a Malchus, and then eventually the other parts of like you said, there's parts of it which go beyond the Ein Bain. Starts off with a lack of Shibud Malchus, but there's other things, other miracles that will take place. So it's all incremental. Or I think most people don't think of it that way. They just think about it as, most Jews I think about it as, okay, Mashiach came. Did you hear?
Some old guy riding a donkey.
Some guy riding a donkey in Yerushalayim, and it'll get on the news. And Mashiach came, like a shocking event in history. Almost nothing to do with everything that happened, nothing to do with Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and David Amelech. But no, it's all, everything leading up to, I think by the time we are where we are right now, it won't be such a shock. We're here in Eretz Yisrael, miracle of miracles. We're free in Eretz Yisrael. We're learning Torah in Eretz Yisrael. Everything is business in Eretz Yisrael. So it's not such a shock because we're in the increments of history. So so this is a very interesting thing. That big chiddush that I say here. The Yerushalmi says, beginning of brachas, Yerushalmi says, Yerushalmi says, Reb Chia Rava, Reb Shimon ben Chalafta, Mahalchim Bahad Bikas Arbel. Everybody's been to the Arbel? So they went there because the sun shines on the Arbel, on that mountain. It's a big mountain. The sun shines on it, the way it's situated. The sun shines on it in a very unique way in Eretz Yisrael. And they went there, the Gedolei Hador went there to work out what time Alois is and what time Netzachama is. That's why they went there. And they could see exactly, because if you stand by the Arbel, you could see all the way across. You have a view to everything, and they can see where the sun comes, where it shines in Eretz Yisrael, and there's the Netz Hanira, and that's Shein Hanira, and that's the sugya that they're talking about in Brachas. They went to top, and then they went to the Bika to see it from both angles. That's what the Gemara says. So they went to the Arbel, and then V'ro Ayelas HaShachar Shabaka Oira, and they saw the Ayelas HaShachar are the first beams of the sun, like it looks like a horn of a gazelle. Ayelas HaShachar, like the first rays of the sun. Shabaka Oira, meaning it was still dark. That's the point of this Gemara is, it was still dark, but they saw like there's light coming. Amar Rav Chia Rabbah, that was his name. There's a few Rav Chias. Amar Rav Chia Rabbah, Rav Shimon ben Chalafta, Kachi Gulasan Shal Yisrael. What we're seeing here is a mashal to the Geula. Kima Kima. Komi Mashi Holeches Hi Rabbah Voheleches. The Geula, he says, is incremental. It's not a one-time fall down from Shemayim. That's not what it is. Kima, it's a bislach. Little by little, you're going to see a Geula. This was what they're talking about. They went to look at the sun. They're talking about that it reminded them of the Geula. Why do it remind them of the Geula? Because chakeloi. Because everything they're talking about is talking about the Geula. They're talking about Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim, Zman Kriya Shema. The Duke, what they were talking about. Zman Kriya Shema. And it's Kima. So there's something interesting here, because this is like politics for the last few minutes here. That this idea of Kima Huba is like, whether it's incremental or whether it's a one-shot deal, is like the basic machlokes between the religious Zionists and the Haredim. Whether the Geula can happen incrementally. Like you say, look, there's a government. We're in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, we're in Eretz Yisraal. There's a government. It's not a real. It's like a government. We agree. It's hard to see any Geula sometimes in the government, but so came like people like Rav Kook, and they said, no, this is the Zaderach, Kima Kima, Sabisla, Kima Kima. The Haredi point of view was always the way I understand it, that this is it's a Maisa of Koifrim and a Maisa of secular, like nothing good could come out of it. I'm not getting involved in that much. Like this is Gedolei Adar. I'm not saying anything, but I just saw a daven on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in this beautiful machzir of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. So there's a pirush of Reb Chaim Kanievsky on the machzir. He didn't write a pirush on the machzir, but they took from all the different things that he says, and like the whole Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, like page after page, I was like short, beautiful, like the goiness, and so. But he says writes here, and he writes this. I found that because I actually went through just about all of it. Here. He says here, "V'chein tein kavod Hashem la'amecha." By the way, all of this is talking about Geula, and we're going to on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur we're Mekabel Malchus Shemayim, and what's going to happen? V'chein tein kavod Hashem la'amecha, tila l'reacha, sikva toiva l'dorshecha. A lot of different steps there, right? Tein kavod Hashem la'amecha, tila l'reacha, sikva toiva l'dorshecha, pischein pelem miyachem lach, simcha l'artzecha, v'sasein liyirecha, utzmichas keren l'David avdecha. So what is with everything we know what it means except for utzmichas keren? What does that mean? Utzmichas keren. Come on, you said it 100 times. Huh? Who's growing horns?
You're showing me some of this word that the
Yel Sashach.
Or is it the Yeshua of the king? It's the shaman for the king.
Why is it called smicha? You're explaining the horn. You're not explaining the smicha. Mashiach, the Navi says his name is Tzemach.
It's not a plant, it slowly grows.
All right. Yitachein, this is Chaim Kanievsky, Shat and Smichas Karen L'David Avdecha. This is one line. Yitachein, Mishum Shetovei Kima Kima. Ein Yerushalmi Brachas Perek Aleph. Chaim Kanievsky, he's a Haredi. So Yerushalmi says Kima Kima. I'm saying like he understood that the Geula that we're talking about here is a tzmicha. It's a tzmicha. So tzmicha is not something that's, here's a tree, here's an orange tree, here's the oranges. It's a process. I'm going to say that's what he says. Is that so? Every time we say, I don't know why it has to go so far. Semach David Avdecha Be'eretz. So it's miach. We say it every day. It's Semach David Avdecha. I just never knew what it meant. So Semach David Avdecha. That semicha is, as he explains it, is a kima of the Geula. And David, Semach David, means to say that David HaMelech planted a seed. What happened to the Mashiach? David HaMelech, Malka Mashiach. He planted the seed of the Geula, and let's not forget the main Yesod. The seed of, let's go back to Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim. It's a bislach. You get to Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim until you get to the final Geula, the Geula Asidah, and that's the Malchus Hashem. And with the Malchus Hashem, you have the Geula, and like every drasha, and we should be zocha to the Geula Shlema b'mheira v'yameinu. Amen. 6:45. Is there still wine in the bottle?
That's why they changed to 6:45.
I changed it to me and Shul.